Strive to enter through the narrow gate, for many, I tell you, will attempt to enter, but will not be strong enough. These are the words of Jesus in response to who will go to heaven. It's not easy. I think this comes as a shock to many who think if I do the bare minimum, it will be okay. But Jesus sounds like perhaps your high school basketball coach or your band teacher or that favorite chemistry teacher of yours. Anyone can just show up to play or to class. But there can only be one champion. There can only be one top of the class. Now, does this mean that there will only be one person in heaven? Absolutely not. But the same principles that make sports teams successful translate into our spiritual lives. Championships are won by those teams who put in work and discipline themselves and undergo the necessary trials and overcome those trials. As the writer of the letter to the Hebrews tells us, do not disdain the discipline of the Lord or lose heart when reproved by him. For whom the Lord loves, he disciplines. He scourges every son he acknowledges. So when your coach is making you run extra wind sprints or suicides or going through that one routine just one more time, it may feel as if he or she hates you. But when you raise that trophy at the finals, or as we've been watching on the Olympics the last 2 weeks, those medalists that have stood on that podium, you realize it's all worth it. Now, I know you aren't in high school anymore, and high school sports probably aren't on your mind at all. But especially for you freshmen moving into this new area of your life, preparing for a career, working hard in your classes, your labs, taking horrible paying co-ops and internships to gain experience so that you can secure that job that you've always wanted. Making sacrifices and disciplining yourself every day to obtain that best outcome you can for yourself. All of this is a direct corollary to our faith. We must strive and work hard to achieve the goal that lies before us. Christ tells us it will not be easy. So what happens? So many people give up after the first practice, abandon the church after First Communion, which is the growing trend, or confirmation, which is a very high population of Catholics, and think, that's enough church. God will get me into heaven now. I've checked all the boxes. I've done the bare minimum. But the faith can't be something we just meander through and just do the bare minimums when it's convenient for us, and then expect to win the championship prize. This is irrational. Now, yes, this is what you will hear if you perhaps go down the street to other churches, that as long as you proclaim Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, it doesn't matter. The problem with this theory is that it directly contradicts Jesus' own words. Many, he says, I tell you, will attempt to enter, but will not be strong enough. Heaven is not just about wanting to be there. If that were the case, we'd all be there. It's about doing what is necessary to get there. Just like no one wins a state championship in basketball just because they want a trophy. They have to put in the time and effort to make it happen. No one becomes successful in their field of business because they profess that they really love their job and they think they're the best person at their job. The most successful people in our society have a common trait. They also work the hardest. The saints in heaven have a common trait as well. They worked hard to get there. Like you and me, they had to fight sin, and they won. Like you and me, they had people that worked every day to destroy their holiness, and they won. And like you and me, they fought their own demons and their doubts and persevered anyway. College is not a time to abandon everything you've been taught. If anyone takes that attitude, especially in the name of some kind of freedom, what happens is exactly the opposite. What happens is enslavement. Enslavement to passions and desire, and a loss of true self, the great self, the image and likeness of God himself that you were created to be, that we abandon for an idea, for a momentary, fleeting joy. Isaiah says, "They shall come and see my glory. I will set a sign among them." God's glory is here, in this church, contained in its fullness in the most holy Eucharist. Nowhere else can the world give us this reality. But we must work every day to be worthy of this great gift. We must strive for virtue and use God's grace to conquer vice. We must destroy the power of temptation and sin in our lives with frequent and necessary confessions. And we must pray in humble trust and ask God for daily help to lead us from these temptations and deliver us from evil. This is not easy. This is not fun. This is not always convenient. But to those who are strong and master this, the rewards are greater than anything we can ever imagine. And I know that you're all capable of it. Not a single one of you is unable to achieve this greatness that you were created for. None of you should ever just settle for second best or feel you need to give up. God does not make mistakes. Does he give us challenges? Yes. But just like your parents, your teachers, your coaches, and everyone in your life to this point who wanted you to be great and achieve greatness, he pushes us so that we can achieve the great potential we were created for. And this is what we are going to do here at St. Francis, together. We are not alone. God has not abandoned us. God is not dead. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you are back after a time away, welcome back. And if you are visiting, we truly would love it if you stayed. We are on a journey, and the destination is clear. Jesus says, "Strive to enter through the narrow gate, for many, I tell you, will attempt to enter, but will not be strong enough." So we strive together to follow him and to avoid the pitfalls that will try to trap all of us. And we, with the strength of our own resolve and the grace of the sacraments, we will attain that glory of eternal beatitude, that greatest championship trophy we could ever imagine. And therefore, enter into the greatest celebration we'll ever be invited to, a celebration that lasts forever.